So it's the 7th of January today. It's about 5:30 in the afternoon. I'm had a morning shift today, so I worked from 7 till 3:30. And there's been a lot of lockdowns and lockouts and more COVID stuff happening where I live at the moment. So I decided to do a run, sort of just indoors in my gym, same place I did the kettlebell workout the other week. Just for today, like normally, like I go for my runs. It's the middle of the day, no one's around anyway, so I'm not too fussed about coming into contact with anyone. You know, when we have surges and stuff like that. But look, this is the afternoon. I know a lot of people are out in the afternoon, especially around where I live. So it's easy for me to just go down to the gym today and do a treadmill workout. And this it's a new challenge for me. This treadmill. For some reason, this one in particular only goes for about 20 minutes. So it'll only set a timer for 20 minutes and then it'll cut out. Don't know why it does it. Don't know how to get around it. I'm just hit the button and go. So my challenge with this is one to sustain my pace for 20 minutes. And the pace will vary. So, a few months ago when I started, I'd do this at sort of 11 k's an hour, 10 k's an hour, just do that for 20 minutes. But now I've sort of moved it up to 14 k's an hour for the majority, and then for the last 2 or 3 minutes I'll try and up it to 15 k's an hour. But you'll probably see somewhere in this it cuts out a couple of times. I don't know if the cord pulled out of the wall or something like that, but it just randomly stopped. So each time it stopped, I upped the speed by 1k an hour just so I wasn't sort of robbing myself of anything. Like, it stopped for about 5 or 10 seconds before I restarted it, so I just didn't want to rob myself of anything. So I thought, look, I've given myself a 10-second break. I'm going to up it I'm going to up the speed 1k an hour more, so I go from 14 k's an hour to 15 k's an hour running. Just so I don't lose anything. I want to challenge myself. I don't want to just take it as a gift. I don't want to take that 10 seconds, 15 seconds rest as a gift. I want to almost take it as a punishment and go, damn it, this cutout, it's allowed me to have a rest. I need to get on top of this, and I need to push myself. I need to not allow this to be a gift of rest. I need to push myself. I'm only here for 20 minutes to push myself. This is all this runner will do in one go. So I need to sustain a pace. And if the machine's going to cut out, look, I've got to up that pace. Then I've got to get my meters back that I lost in that 10-15 seconds where I've stopped. So that's sort of my mindset going into this one. So for about half of it, for about maybe 12-13 minutes, I'm at about 14 k's an hour, and then for the rest I upped it to 15. And then for the last sort of 3 or 4 minutes, probably the last 3.5 minutes, it was about 16 k's an hour. Look, the idea of this for me is to maintain a pace. I know when I run outdoors and you're sort of going up and down hills, and not everything's flat and perfect and easy like a treadmill is. Treadmills are flat. You can sort of lock into the pace and really find a groove. I don't get to do that too much on my regular route. I'm usually gaining momentum going down a hill, or losing momentum going up hills or going upstairs or something like that. So for me, this run is more about just sort of locking in that pace, keeping my heart rate high and keeping my cadence and my leg turnover going, and sort of pushing through that lactic acid build-up that probably isn't as consistent as... it's probably not as consistent in my normal runs. You probably, if you're going downhill, you're sort of catching a little bit of a break, and your legs are relaxing a little bit, and they can just roll away, and the lactic acid build-ups, you can catch up with that and push some of it out of your system. But here it's just go, dun, 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 dun. You're keeping your rhythm, you're keeping your pace, you're blasting your music, and it's boring as well. It tests your mind so much. Like, look, I've got such a short attention span for things. Like running on a treadmill for 20 minutes for me is so boring. So I've got to try and practice. It's like practice for me of getting in the zone. I've got to find that good space and that good rhythm and just lock into it. I've got to try and find a balanced position. I've got to be poised. I've got to be efficient in my stride, and then I've got to just lock in mentally to the task at hand and try and not be defeated by myself. This is where it's so easy, especially, we're humans, we're very visual, we like to look at things, we like to look around things, that's why social media is, so addictive for some people, is you can just keep looking at something new every couple of seconds, 10 seconds here, 10 seconds there, something's always keeping engaging you, giving you that dopamine hit over and over and over again. This is just me staring at the glass, and I think there were a couple people, finishing off in the pool and leaving in front of me, and then apart from that, there was nothing else going on in front of me for the next 15 minutes. So it just tests your mind just to keep going, and after about 10 minutes, this is where that little voice creeps in and starts going, you're filming this, you can turn it off, you can have a break, or you can split this up and make it look like you've run 20 minutes, but I'm not going to do any cuts in this. It's just going to be 20 minutes of me jogging on a treadmill, super boring footage, just my legs turning over, looking at my form, and that's probably about it. Definitely a test of the mind. I had my AirPods on. I sort of try and enjoy this a little bit, so I was blasting a little bit of music, just trying to keep myself energized and keep my rhythm up. But there's days where I won't listen to music running. I'll go out on a longer run, and I'll just use that time to think to myself. And you're not thinking too hard about things. You're not sort of going into the meaning of life or doing your taxes in your head or something like that. You're thinking about basically, for my runs, when middle of the day it's super hot, I'm just thinking about not dying. I'm thinking about just making it step by step by step by step, and it's almost very meditative in that sense. You're just focused on what's in front of you and what you have to do. You focus on your breathing, and you focus on your stride, and you remember to pump your arms, and that's about it. I think a lot of people get lost in trying to listen to too much music or listen to a podcast and use that as a distraction. I'm all for it. Sometimes if I want to go out and I want to have a fun run and I want to bang my listen to some bangers, and really sort of stride my way through it and enjoy it, I'll listen to music. Of course, that's what I did today. But on some other days, and I really recommend it for some people, some other days, you need a break. You need a little bit of a dopamine detox. Because listening to music gives you a dopamine hit. Same as looking at social media, it gives you a dopamine hit. Eating fatty foods, eating tasty foods gives you a dopamine hit. So for me, running without music or running without listening to a podcast or any sort of that stimulus, this gives me a little bit of a detox from the things that keep lifting me while I'm running. You have those periods where you hit a runner's high and then you go through lows and then you go through highs again. Whereas when you're sort of listening to music, you notice yourself starting to hit those lows, and then you have your go-to like motivational song, like your Eye of the Tiger or your Final Countdown or something that'll lift you and that'll push you through. Whereas if you're running without music, you really have to acknowledge it, and you're not distracted by anything. So it takes a lot of your mental focus, and you really have to make a conscious effort of putting that pain aside or putting that low moment aside and just focusing on your breathing, your stride, your form, and just making sure your legs and your lungs get you where you need to go. So look, I think that's probably one of the beauties in that. It's not for everyone, but I definitely recommend people try these things. I think you always have to try new. If you're into sort of, and this is what I'm into as well. I love the psychological challenge of training things and doing things that are hard and tough. That's why I'm doing this train every day challenge, and making sure I'm doing at least some sort of quality exercise every day. I don't want to just go home, do 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups and say, look, I exercised today, it's great. I want to really push myself. And this, even though it's running on a treadmill for 20 minutes, this is a pace where I'm pushing myself. 15Ks an hour is probably the top end, or at least what it says on my Garmin watch when I run. It's the top, sort of the top speeds I get when I'm running long distance, and it's usually not sustained. Usually my average speed's probably about 12 and a half k's an hour. So this is just making sure that I'm sustaining speed and keeping my average speed high. And look, I definitely notice it improves my short-term runs, my 5k especially, like 20 minutes on a treadmill, let's say 14 to 15 k's an hour, you're probably looking at about 4.8 k's, something like that. So look, it definitely helps my 5k time, and the feeling of my 5ks. But I think in the shorter term as well, if I'm doing a quick mile or a quick 2k or a quick 2.5k, it definitely helps that as well. Something about doing, this probably helps my base more than anything. But yeah, look, I think I'll be looking to do a lot more shorter training and a lot more sprint training and interval training to boost my anaerobic capacity. I think that's where I definitely lack a lot at the moment. I used to do it all the time. You go to the track and you go, okay, I'm going to do 20 hundreds today. I'm going to do 540s or something like that. Or you go, look, I'm going to do 4 200s, 5 100s, 4 80s, couple 40s, something like that. So I'm gonna look to do a little bit more of that and improve my speed. I think that's probably one of the limiting factors for me at the moment. I think I'm close to. According to when you have a Garmin watch, it tells you what your VO2 max is and it tells you what your training status is. And after a run, it'll tell you if you've improved your time, if you're maintaining your fitness, or if you've lost fitness. And mine's getting to the point now where it's telling me I'm peaking. And I'll tell you right now, like off the top on my watch says I have a VO2 max of 65, which is in your upper echelon of pretty fit people. Not to say I'm super fit, but look, I think if you're looking at your top cyclists and your top runners, their VO2 max is probably in the high 70s, maybe 80s. So I'm pretty high for your average dude who isn't a pro athlete and just works a normal job and doesn't spend all day every day training, and their life isn't sort of focused around training. So yeah, look, some of these runs, I think I'm peaking at the moment, so I probably will have to go back and do some more interval training and get my speed up and get my body used to those periods of high intensity without a lot of oxygen in your body, and then sort of move forward to some longer paced runs after that, to then go back and improve on my base. And I think the age old training of just getting some miles in your legs does wonders as well. Like I talked a lot last week about all the sort of benefits strength training has on my endurance and my muscular endurance and my running. But I think all those benefits aside, one of the best things you can do is just go out there and just put some miles in your legs. Your legs have to be used to the task at hand, and the task at hand is running. So the only way you're going to get better at running and running long distances is to go after those distances and run those distances. It doesn't have to be fast. I think in my experience earlier on when I started long distance running, I thought that I really had to push the time and push the pace on my longer distance runs, which I think probably led to a few hip problems and overstriding and things in my technique, that when I'm tired I sort of got into bad habits and I just kept pushing into those bad habits. It led to a bit of repetitive stress on my right hip, which this is probably the reason why last year I decided to stretch more every day, because that was really realized that it doesn't have to be a fast time, it just has to be distance. You just cover the distance and you just get that miles and you get those experience in your leg. The key factor is you just have to keep a good form. You have to keep your form. Your form is everything when you run. You want to make sure that you're landing on the ball of your foot, on the heel of your foot, whatever way you run, whatever way you strike the ground. You want to make sure that you're striking the ground under your hip with your knee slightly bent. For the most efficiency on your stride, that's probably where you're going to get the best push off to go forward. But two, for maximizing your body's ability to deal with the load of you hitting the pavement, pounding the pavement, I think that's one thing, and look, people say, look, if you run all the time, aren't your knees going to be buggered by the time you're 40? And look, that's not necessarily the case. Yes, lots of people who run can have really bad joints and really bad knees, but it's not like rugby players or things like that where they're doing their ACLs or their MCLs every couple of years and having reconstructive surgeries and stuff like that. It's probably the people that are getting the most damage in their knees, the people that are running with bad form. And I think that's something that's a little bit neglected. Or people, it's not to try and be rude or anything, but people that are overweight or people that don't exercise regularly, and then they just start running. They don't do stretching. They don't look into anything to help improve their experience. They just start doing it, and then after a couple of weeks, go, I buggered my knee, I buggered my hip, I can't run anymore. I tried it, but I failed and I couldn't do it. So I think that's one of the important things as well. Like, yes, you're looking to get those miles in. You really want to build up that stamina and endurance in your legs, and mentally as well. Once you know that you go 20Ks, half marathon, full marathon, whatever, once you know that you've been there before, you can take yourself there again. But to the people that are usually just starting out, and look, this happened to me as well. I've only learned this through experience, but look, you can't discount the benefits of regular stretching and making sure you're running with optimal form as well. And everybody's going to be different as well. I've heard some people tell me that no, when you run, you're meant to be running off the balls of your, the ball of your foot is meant to be striking the ground, and you're meant to be pushing off that. Some people tell me, no, look, you're fine if your heel hits the ground and stuff like that. You've got to find what's comfortable for you. Everyone runs differently. Everyone has slightly different anatomy. So you've got to find what's comfortable for you, and then match in a program and a workout program, but more importantly, a recovery program that works for you as well. Like I said, like I just said before, stretching has been huge for me. Improving my hip mobility has been a main thing. And look, I've definitely noticed, the one way I notice that is in my squats when I'm in the gym. I can squat so much deeper than I could maybe 2 or 3 years ago, because I've been stretching my hips, because I've been stretching my lower back and my hamstrings and my legs, and really testing my knee and ankle sort of flexion and mobility as well, and really tightening up those key areas. That's definitely translated into one, injury-free running, but also pain-free running as well. For a long time I was running in pain with a sore hip or tight Achilles or tight hamstrings and a tight back and things like that. But through doing this sort of protocol of, look, every 20 minutes stretching before every run, and then taking the time to learn what is comfortable for my body and what works. And it's going to be a lot of trial and error, don't get me wrong. Took me a couple of years of trial and error to get it right, but learning what's comfortable for your body and how you move, and compared to like you can watch great marathon runners and stuff like that and copy their techniques, and how you move compared to that, and what you need to do to sort of try and aim towards that, but what is also your limitations with regards to your flexibility, your your joint strength, your bone strength, whatever. So there's a few key things there to understand, but that's probably my spiel on running for the day. I could ramble on about it for a long time, but yeah, like I said before, the machine did stop a couple of times, and old mate who was in the gym behind me said, yeah mate, that running machine, it just freaks out, it just bugs out, so next time I use the other one. But I tried not to discredit myself and give myself that rep. I definitely upped my speed accordingly to those stoppages, and I pushed myself until the very end. So yeah, look, I think that's all from me, so thank you very much, and yeah, cheers. I'll see you next time, mate.